Small correction from part 1. The motive of the villains is not just in the dialogues.
Why? Why? To restore the Maker.
That one is my bad. Hadn't played the game in a while, and I didn't finish watching all the cutscenes. If you're somehow watching this without having watched the first part of this, a quick summary. Immortals find out their memories are sealed away by an evil immortal and try to fight him. Evil immortal last told us we were traitors and left us for dead. Also, your grandkids joined the party. That should be good, right? I really don't want to have to spend another 15 minutes backtracking. So we managed to make it back to Samad and everything is hunky-dory. And hey, the pathway through Ice Canyon is open. Yeah, villagers, you think you could have warned me about the dinosaurs? This big bastard has a new status effect that will be the bane of your goddamn existence this fight. Formation paralysis. See, if any one member has this status effect on them, you can't change the formation in the middle of the fight. This sounds absolutely useless, but this guy will hit you with that status and then push your front row fighters into the back row, meaning your mages are now defenseless. See, without party members in the front row, there is no back row, meaning everyone gets pulled into the front row. Yeah, suddenly that status isn't so pointless. Oh, and just because the game hates you, he has counter. Well, time to grind out the skill points to teach my immortals freeform so that they have immunity to that status. Guess I could get a few levels into Jansen too, the useless bastard. Well, okay, I say that. He has exactly one use. See, Jansen can learn how to equip 2 accessories, and that's a skill you can teach to your immortals, meaning that they can learn skills twice as fast. Oh, and I guess you have to level them up if you want to complete your black magic spellbook. I guess. Oh, there's also a side quest involving these thieving monkeys that steal your shit until they steal their crown that you find after the boss and then kick their ass, but that's not important right now. Also, when they'll spike your ass like a Anyway, Gotza. This is where we were headed, right?
Why don't we head for Gotza? They've made the most progress with magic technology.
Okay, just checking. This place is heavily militaristic if the scene of our introduction to the king is anything to go by. Also, apparently, people think Kime is the reason why the meteor was called because he was the only survivor, which he wasn't. Seth survived too. Whatever, we're on a mission. Nothing can possibly distract us. Oh, also, permanently missable spells in the shop. Get them. Last chance. Speaking of missable, there are seeds and other important items you can lose, so explore the area. Doing this will lead you to a gambler who asks for your loan. 10 times. If you give him $1,000 each time, he'll pay you back with 400% interest. Easiest 50k you'll ever make. This is another one of those things that no one in their right mind would do, but then again, this was directed by a man well acquainted with that sort of logic. Speaking of why the hell would I do this logic, you can't advance the story until you poke down this elevator and try to enter the train station. After doing that, welcome to the Point of No Return Part 2, Electric Avenue. Woe betide all those who enter without preparation. Yeah, this is your only warning. Make an alternate save. If you save over this file after this point, you are going to have a bad time. See, once you approach this elevator, your party splits into groups, and you're basically pinned into the next few boss fights, one of which can be unwinnable if you haven't been leveling everyone. So, yeah, the group splits into 3 groups. Kime and Sarah go one way, Mac and Cook go another way, by themselves, and we stay with Seth, Jansen, and Ming. That is a match made in hell right there. Anyway, you go up the elevator. If you do this before the station, then nothing happens. You walk forward, get stopped by some guards, and then this happens.
This is Queen Ming of Numara.
I left that in unedited because I want you to understand just how badly the writing has shit itself here. Yeah, you're in a heavily militarized nation expecting an invasion from any force in the near future, and you want to advertise the fact that you have the leader of one of those nations with you. Yeah, this goes exactly as well as you expect it to, in that the guards let us through without a hitch when they see the Queen's crest. But it's a trick! The king is not there! No, in fact, he's with Kime and Sarah. So the king is actually old friends of Kime and Sarah. In fact, he has a crush on Sarah, after they saved him from freezing to death. He has heard about the queen being abducted, but that's not the problem at hand right now. See, he plans to meet with Tolton to try and, stop a war from happening. It turns out that while the nation is putting on a facade of militarism, the king is actually a reasonable guy who just wants to do right by his people.
I will shortly be meeting in secret with King Tolton to discuss what can be done to avoid war, given the strained relations between our countries. He and I will consult between ourselves to avoid any interference from various vested interests on our respective sides.
But he explicitly requests Kaim and Sarah to be there, and Kaim and Sarah mentioned they'll bring Ming. I wonder what Cook and Mac are doing. Like grandfather, like granddaughter. Actually, they're chasing a legend of a violet aura that will let you see the souls of the dead, because when these kids are involved, it's always Lyrum. So they hijack a train and speed off. Small problem. They are going in the opposite direction as the royal carriage that is going to be taking the rest of the party. So Kaim and Sarah have to go and chase after these kids. You know, you could have sent Jansen and Seth after them and taken Ming with you onto the royal carriage. This is going to be interesting to explain to the king. Actually, given events that are about to happen, this is the best idea, and Sakaguchi knew it.
Another party will be participating in this meeting.
Who might that be?
The Queen of Numara. Will that be a problem? It is increasingly likely that our three countries, Gotza, Ura, and Numara, will go to war. The purpose of this meeting is to find a way to avoid that. I want very much to hear what Queen Ming has to say on this subject.
Okay, a lot of things are about to happen all at once, so I'll try my best to go through them step by step. First off, Ming tries to explain to the two kings that Gongora and Grandstaff are, you know, evil, conveniently neglecting to mention that her generals are prepared to go to war to control it themselves. Anyway, Tolton, wearing some spy eyes, is in contact with Gongora, who says to share the plans of Grandstaff with Gotza, which seems to satisfy the king of Gotza, but not Ming for obvious reasons. Mars, the king of Gotza, however, recognizes this might be a trap and says to prepare contingencies. Yeah, there's just one problem that those contingencies weren't prepared for. Grandstaff being completed and brought straight to Ura. Somehow. Gongora uses this chaos to seize his moment and announces that Tolton is dead while Gongora has been left with full control, fully blaming Gotza as an assassinator of him. With the citizenry behind him, he then proceeds with wiping out the competition, but not before creating his acolytes, and here's your newest warning. For the love of all that is holy, kill the black acolyte last! Don't do what I did and kill the gold one last, kill the black one last! This is actually one I blame on my walkthrough, because it tries to do the spoiler-free thing and completely screws up explaining the mechanics of the fight. See, whichever one you kill last will be erased by Gongora and will not participate in the boss fight with them later on. Each of these acolytes are immune to everything except for specific attacks that are unique to each of them, and this fight is your glimpse into that clue. The red acolyte dies from flare, the blue dies from aqua, green wind, yellow ground, white dies to shine, making his weakness light magic, which only white mages can cast, think holy in Final Fantasy. Gold is weak to physical attacks, hence the name of the spell that kills him being break, and black is weak to status ailments. For the love of God, kill him last. Damn, this music is really good in this game. Oh, holy fuck! I have to interrupt this plot development to correct the fact that I haven't mentioned that the damn game's original soundtrack is by Nobuo Uematsu. And, as is standard for the legend, he absolutely kills it here. His His music is properly epic and grandiose to fit with the setting, with only the small smattering of electric guitar to merely emphasize certain moments, or to get complete overkill out of the overworld map. Seriously, top-notch stuff out of Uematsu. Makes me wish I knew my music theory enough to really dig deep into it. I think my favorite tracks are actually Liram's death theme, Parting Forever, Gongora's Plot, which is Gongora's theme, and A Sign of Hope, which plays during the ending scene of Disc 1. Parting Forever is a howl of emotion, capturing the essence of losing a loved one. Gongora's Plot emphasizes Gongora's darker nature. A Sign of Hope just shines a bright, warm light on a scene that is already emotional and joyous, and is a wonderful song to just lie in peace to. Anyway, back with wiping out the competition. He sinks the fleet that went to meet the ship that was supposed to exchange the plans via meteor shower. Then he freezes solid both the train the royals are on and the entire nation of Gotza, and that's why there are permanent missables there. Tolton manages to be warped out by his royal mage, with Seth crashing into him just as the spell completes, getting her out as well. Jansen and Ming are saved by her creating a bubble spell around the two of them, and they just basically wait for death to claim them. Meanwhile, Kaim's train, because reasons, gets chased down by military bots despite the kids' hijacking of a train getting no such response. Not that it matters, because their train gets crashed into by a giant freaking ice ball just in time for them to leap onto the train with Cook and Mac. Then, they have to race through the train as it slowly freezes behind them, and this will game over you if you let your HP hit 0 while in the frozen segments, so, don't! They make it to the kids in the nick of time, only for them to be separated again as Kaim and Sarah forcibly split the car in two, and the kids fall behind while the two immortals seemingly ride to their doom. Still with me? Because we're not done yet. Back before the shit show, Tolton mentioned that they had a war on piracy earlier and managed to capture the world's most notorious pirate, Ced. And that's my cue to go back to this too. So, back before you make it to Tosca, that village that knew Kaim, Seth has 1,000 years of dreams about her past, where it mentions that she eventually had a son, Ced. She suddenly remembered him at that moment and nearly broke right there, thinking he was dead. But now, we know he's alive. And when we get to Ura, it's convenient timing because he is going to be burned alive in a ceremony to commemorate the new king. Wait, burning alive? Jesus H, fuck! The Uran guards are completely not having it that Tolton is the actual king, so you have to just beat the shit out of them as the random encounters. Seth is surprisingly more than willing to work with Tolton under the circumstances, which again just illustrates how well these characters are written. Rather than blame Tolton for this chaos, she knows he was just another pawn, and if they want to do anything about it, they have to work together, even if it's to Tolton's disbelief.
You're helping me?
Not to upset your apple cart, but you need help.
I've actually been holding back on this because I want to save as much of that plot as I can, but Tolton actually has a parallel character arc with Albert from Legend of Dragoon. He's got a kind heart, and he's trying to lead his people through a wartime scenario, just hoping to end it with as little bloodshed as possible. The problem is he's young and naive, not realizing the machinations that are happening behind his back until it's too late. But rather than just accept that things are going screwy, he does something about it. He takes up arms and fights alongside the main cast for what he sees is a good cause. The only difference between the two is how long it took them to finally start fighting. Tolton's character arc is actually important, and that's a rare sight for a character who joins the party 2/3 of the way through the game. It's more than Miranda got in Legend of Dragoon, that's for damn sure. It's a shame he's a worse fighter than Mac. Seriously, his stat spread is so bad, it would be funny if he was a joke character. When a child is a better melee fighter than you, your balancers need to go back to the goddamn drawing board. It's so sad, because he actually gets great skills, but he can't use any of them effectively. Meanwhile, in a secret tunnel, it turns out that not all of the Goatson army is dead. They're planning a counterattack, intending to wipe Ura off the face of the earth, and they arrive just in time to interrupt the sacrifice. As you might expect, this allows Ced to be saved in the nick of time, Ced literally calling for his mama. That is not a joke. The trio book it, leaving behind all the other poor bastards, missing the spectacle of Gongora summoning what can only be described as frickin' demons. Though, before all this, you can stumble upon a side quest that you need Tolton to complete. See, around the world there are these weird monoliths that only Tolton can break, and they get you cool shit. Destroying all of them will net you a bonus boss fight, and if you win, you get a secret skill for Tolton. This is the first really big side quest we pick up in the game. Yeah, and you thought Final Fantasy XIII was bad with its side quest pacing. We actually won't be able to get into the meat of this stuff until Disc 4, which is still about 5 hours out. Not so rampant to bitch about me saying this game is a corridor simulator now, are ya? Meanwhile, with Cook and Mac, things aren't going so well. Jensen and Ming, they managed to escape and wandered out to Old Goatsa, which is a ruin. Hey, it's shelter. Also, Ming now has her memories back. See, in the part where Ming rescued Jansen from freezing to death, basically all but sending back the freezing cold via magic, she accidentally unsealed her memories, which were sealed by herself. The reason? Gongora, of course. See, there's a statue in Numara that I completely skipped over because it was just a spare cutscene at the time, but the statue is actually a petrified creature known as an Arthrosaurus, and Gongora had summoned a herd of the bastards to destroy Numara unless Ming sealed her memories away. She did, so he stopped them. Well, I'm sure this will have no consequences whatsoever when Gongora finds out about this. Anyway, Jansen and Ming set off to find the rest of the crew. Also, it turns out not all of Goatsa is an icy popsicle. See, while High and Middletown are screwed, Lowtown actually managed to escape with some lives intact. Which is good, because now the backyard is accessible, though not playable. We'll be back later, it's another side quest. Anyway, we venture onto the train tracks, managing to find Cook and Mac before they are unrecoverable, which is good, because my nightmare has come! And now, the moment you've all been waiting for! Remember what I said about Mac? Well, he just sucks. The problem is he's not a jack of all trades like the game wants him to be, but a master of none. Had he been dedicated one way or the other, he might have been useful, but he doesn't do great physical damage, he doesn't do great magical damage, his HP is way too low for any real use in the front row, and his casting time is on par with Seth, who isn't even a mage. Yeah, this is the moment where I eat my words. So, you fight this bitch with Mac, Cook, Jansen, and Ming. You might notice that not a single frontliner is in sight, and that's because Mac and Jansen are your frontliners. So I hope you've been leveling Mac and Jansen, because if you haven't, you are F-U-C-K fucked. Yeah, your casters exist purely to keep Mac alive, because when Mac drops, you are even more screwed than you think you are. See, don't get used to being able to murder it with earth magic, because once it hits about a quarter of its health, it'll cast Reflect on itself, meaning any magic you cast will be thrown right back at you, forcing you to use physical attacks with mages. Oh, and it has priority beyond guard and item use, just to make sure it catches you off guard and you nuke your own party. So I hope you've been getting Mac good equipment, because now he's your DPS! Yes, attack items do still work, but if you're like me, you haven't been buying them lately. You have a grand total of 3, which will not get you very far. Yeah, there's a reason a large group of people rate this boss as amongst the hardest in the game, and that's just because of the circumstances you are pigeonholed into. If you haven't been leveling all of your characters, you are just screwed. Too bad, so sad. Hope you like restarting after 30 friggin' hours. No, I'm not joking. This fight is unwinnable if you haven't been doing that. Good friggin' luck to you people. This is the kind of shit I expect from Atlas games, goddammit. Now, if you're actually watching my footage, you will notice that I make the fight look easy. That's because I'm a paranoid son of a bitch and was grinding all my characters as much as I could, especially since I knew about this fight ahead of time, so my party was capable enough to get through this relatively easy. But if you're a noob, good luck to you. Jansen is probably level 20 and Mac is probably 25 at best. You are just screwed. You just do not have the health pools necessary to survive those attacks, especially if he blasts you with all Aqua. I know I'm repeating myself, but I wanted to make that a point. This fight looks easy purely because I made it look that way. If you aren't prepared, you are in an unwinnable state and you will have to restart. If you listened to me, you made an alternate save before you cross the point of no return part 2 and can just go back to the canyon to grind. But if not, sorry man, but this is game over for you. And you want to know the worst part? This was the practice fight. Back to Seth. The trio escaped to the sewers and Seth joins our party from here on out. He actually has better stats than Tolton, which is hilarious given he's the only one who uses a gun. Yes, he's our one-ranged non-caster. Speaking of hilarious, he also insists on calling Seth Mama, which is great given he's middle-aged.
Mama, let's leave the boy king here. He'll just be in the way. Hey, Mama! I bet we can use that! And yet you're still giving orders, Mama.
Yes, Seth is literally 20 times as old as him at least, but still, what the hell? Not that Seth minds, mind you. Only Tolton and possibly the player is bothered by it.
Must you call her Mama? It's very odd for someone your age.
Shut up, kid. You don't tell me what to do.
Oh, if you feel like you recognize his voice, you probably do. Seth is voiced by Michael Bell, whose resume is nothing short of ridiculous. Metal Gear Solid, Ratchet & Clank, Legacy of Kain, Transformers Devastation, Alpha Protocol, and those are just the video games. Seriously, his filmography list is nothing short of insane. Hell, you probably recognize quite a few voices in this game. Kime would be best recognized with a mask, trench coat, and dual-wielding shotguns. Seth is known for swinging friendship or chainsaws in her off time. You'll recognize Ming behind the speaker of Leon's communicator in Resident Evil. Cook is obviously the fusion of the twin Rugrats. Sarah would be better recognized working as a maid for a royal family. Gungora would be more recognizable if he grew about 3 feet and had a centipede spine. And Mac is the freaking con maker.
Who are you? A human, once a mortal, to defy our traditions.
God, I love linking characters through VAs. I'm getting off track. We get stupid lucky and find said ship down here, having only been impounded rather than scrapped. So they use that to escape, but not before those frickin' demons appear. You have to fight one on foot, and you could potentially just beat the crap out of it, but your nukers are off in Gotza, so that's not a great idea. Instead, you should do what the game explicitly tells you to do and hit the crane until it turns so it can blow itself up. And then, you have a QuickTime event! Yes! You are driving the Nautilus, trying to escape 3 of those demons, and you get button prompts to dodge the attacks. It's not long, but it is stressful. You get 3 chances to screw up before you game over, and the button prompts do not play around. You've got maybe a second to internalize the command, hit the right button, and hope the game recognizes the button prompt in time. And that's not considering the ones where you have to repeatedly tap the button. Now, I'm reasonably fast at tapping. I can manage 11 presses a second, maybe 12 on a good day. I nearly broke my friggin' wrist on these commands, because the timing is just that tight. You're gonna be in for an unpleasant surprise if you aren't paying full attention. Again, watching my footage, I make it look easy, but it is not. You are jamming on that controller like a madman, and it is nerve-wracking as all hell. Assuming you manage to survive, you get treated to the epic escape of a submersible ship flying through the air with the greatest of ease, and now you have a new ship to travel around the world. In Final Fantasy speak, that means side quest time. But not yet. Later. Back with Jansen and co. They decide that if they're going to be following Kaim and Sarah, it'd be best not to do it on the railroad tracks. We make a pit stop at the Goatson refugee camp and pick up another side quest, this time a trading quest. Remember the cute Pippots? Yeah, if you do a thing for someone, you get a spiky seed, and once you get that, you can give it to the Pipot in the refugee camp to get a prickly seed, which goes to the Pipot in Saman. Feed these seeds down the chain, the item description will tell you where to go, and you get a bracelet of efficiency, which will reduce your MP cost by 25%, rounding down if not a whole number. Needless to say, this will be very useful, so it is highly advised you do this bullshit. Leave the other way, and you'll get a drunkard who will point you to a train wreck. That train wreck will bring you to a cave that is on fire! Well, no, not on fire. It's just got magma and geysers and poison gas and shit. And big-ass monsters. And when you reach the end, it's time for my continuing nightmare! So, remember the living ice? That boss that can stop a playthrough in inch tracks by pigeonholing you. Yeah, it has a big brother. The Ice Magic Beast. See, remember the reflect spell that Living Ice put up? Yeah, this guy has it on at the start of the fight. So your casters are now completely useless, and Mac is completely your only reliable damage output. Unless you bought bombs from the shop. You did buy bombs from the shop at the refugee camp, right? No? Well, I guess you've got some trekking to do all the way back out of the cave and to the camp. Actually, I wouldn't bother. If you learned your lesson and you've been keeping up with Mac's equipment, with a power wrist buff, he will do 2700 damage if he crits on a perfect hit with a planet ring equipped. So as long as you've been using Ringmaker Trace, you should be golden. Oh crap, I never explained his ass. So Trace is an NPC who just wanders the world, and he'll make you rings by combining some of yours for the low price of free. So, make some rings, give him the ones he wants, and he'll get you some very good ones. A planet ring has level 2 earth element, level 2 damage up, and level 2 crit up, so it just shreds water element monsters, which the Ice Magic Beast is. Plus, with the damage output this bastard has, your casters will be too busy healing to really be able to throw any bombs at him. He can also do a devastating combo that will pretty much guaranteed freeze your party members if you haven't been wearing warm vests, so have fun with that. If you manage to beat him, which is a big ask even when prepared, you rescue Kaim and Sarah, who were popsicles at first. Cook and Mac revive them, and then the Nautilus picks us up, capping off Disc 3 with the party finally reunited.
How did you find us?
The pendant that I returned to Ming. What? There's magic energy in it. We've been tracking its output.
Okay, that's Disc 3 done. Now, because I'm not done with it, I want to say something in Final Fantasy XIII's defense, because I don't want it said that I don't have praises, no matter how small. When playing Final Fantasy XIII, I never said the 8 deadly words. I don't care what happens to these people. Even when I absolutely loathed them, I did want to see them succeed in saving their home, because I like happy endings. And seeing that ending that reunited everyone, even with the bittersweetness of Fang and Vanille trapped in a crystal pillar for all eternity, holding up Cocoon, legitimately tugged at my heartstrings. But the fact that it took 50 shitting hours for me to find something I liked about the game should tell you all you need to know. But Lost Odyssey? You want to know how long it took me to find something I liked, besides the combat? 2 hours. That was Seth and Jansen as a duo. Seriously, Seth and Jansen, as much as Jansen is the comic relief, make great foils for each other, with Seth being the Tsukomi to Jansen's Bokeh. Basically, Seth is the straight man and Jansen is the silly one. Both are snarky as all get out, but they play off each other in a way that makes it not just funny, but compelling to see what they do next.
I don't think we should go to the forest. I'm going to stay here and support the queen.
Would you quit whining?
No. Save me, oh my queen! Well, you know, they just got together after a long separation. Unlike you, most women don't kick people. they like to be together and share warmth and company and caress one another.
Chauvinist
And I
ass.
Ow, see? Proved my point.
Is it a joke that wears out its welcome? Probably, but it doesn't stop it from actually pulling the game forward.
We make a pretty good team, even if it cost us a fair amount of money.
Yeah, my money.
What?
Ming, it's like this. Seth did her pirate act to shake him up, and then I reeled him in by playing nice. You know, good guard, bad guard. It's the most basic technique for getting information out of people. I mean, we could have killed his family, but that's messy and takes too long.
They bicker, they fight, and Jansen deserves it a lot of the time. But that doesn't stop them from being willing to put aside their differences once the chips are down. If the two of them were any different, the characters would feel incomplete. Jansen is always the first to crack wise and criticize, and Seth is always the first to make him tone it down, except when he has a point.
When you said to aim at the pipe, did you have a plan B or was getting captured plan B? How about a plan G, like get the hell out of here? I mean, you've evolved 1,000 years, and guess what? We're still captured. Huh? Brilliant.
Give it a rest.
At the same time, Seth is always poking fun at his imbecilic behavior, giving him a good dope slap when the time arises. But she knows he's useful, and is willing to stick with them despite all the bullshit she puts him through. It's not a fresh take on the character duo idea, but it never stops being something you're willing to see go forward, because you understand the core of the concept and what they mean to each other. Imagine that shit for a moment. A character that you can actually understand their friggin' personality. Better than Snow with his hero complex in spite of his results, Lightning with her frustrating cynicism to a point of being an asshole in spite of her tremendous trials in her upbringing, and Hope being a chicken shit who takes 20 hours to just pull an Inigo Montoya despite the fact that he has multiple chances for it. You know, I threw up that line as a joke in the first video, but that Chocobo chick really is the best character in the entire game. And when the character I most sympathize with is a non-sapient, you have screwed up. I mean, holy fuck. Look, I know. Final Fantasy XIII is kind of a punching bag at this point, and by my own admission, this entire rant is an excuse to dunk on it. But it just exemplifies all the more how terrible the game is when you illuminate it with something that actually does it correctly. The combat requires you to actually watch the damn screen, something that I know from experience you can actually get away with in Final Fantasy XIII. The characters all have motivations that you understand and don't clash with each other, and the story doesn't require everyone being an idiot in order for it to make any sense. Forget the dialogues, because even if they fix that, it wouldn't save the damn story. Just make people start acting intelligently. Make the fal'Cie able to get over their hatred. It's not hard. Just let them say, become Ragnarok and liberate the world. Instead of making them be quiet, you can trick the players and characters by simply making it look like a noble goal, if not outright lie to them. Make the characters at least attempt to stick together. It's not hard. Just make Saz tell everyone to shut the hell up and recognize that if they want any chance out of their situation, they have to work together and let the interpersonal conflict soar from there. Let the cops realize that literally purging an entire town is wrong and get them to either do strip searches against orders or have them rebel. It's not hard. You could have Fang sowing doubt and discord in the ranks, because it's not like she's doing anything else. Just look at how Lost Odyssey treats its cast. Kaim and crew make it no secret that they think Gungora is out to take over the world, and Gungora's actions against them have only proved it in their mind. Gungora, knowing he still has the upper hand, has been playing his cards perfectly, seizing opportunities as they arrive. Sure, Cook and Mac are stupid for chasing a legend, causing the big party split that dominated the third disc. But you can understand their motivations on account of the fact that they are impulsive children who just want to see their mother. Oh my god, this is Data Squad all over again. For Christ's sake, am I just insane? Am I the only person who thinks that understanding a character's motivation is key to them being sympathetic? Is it so much to ask for a character who I understand why they are who they are? I mean, what the fuck? So, we're at Disc 4, and this is pretty much where most of the side questing gets done. At this point, most of the map, save Numara right now, is accessible to us, so it's possible to travel to anywhere you've already unlocked. So you've got two options. Go to every location, talk to every random NPC in every screen after every story event to make sure you didn't miss anything, or you could do what I keep telling you to do and grab a walkthrough. Also, the Nautilus can dive underwater, and there's treasures hidden around the world you need to grab, so get a world map and have fun searching. Oh, also the backyard. Yeah, event battles are being had in Gotza, and you have to both beat the encounter and complete a hidden condition in order to get everything from it, and these fights are ridiculously hard at the level you first unlock them. If, however, you accidentally power leveled like I did, you can pretty much brute force your way up to super heavy. Don't try to take on the last one, though. Just don't. You will note that my footage has me running from the battle and not dying. That's because, using my skill setup, I couldn't get him to kill me. Seriously, my immortals would keep activating absorb magic, and persistence meant that a killing blow had to hit twice every revive. That fight ran for 20 minutes before I just gave up on getting that footage. I do know that literally being unkillable meant I could chip away a win, but he has 175k health, and I'm doing 200 damage when I'm lucky. No, I'd rather not, thanks. Now, at the very least, I do recommend investigating Gungora's mansion, because there's a royal seal there, and it leads to Gungora's secret lab. Then how did he get down there to make that mud puppet without opening the seal? It's there that you can learn a very important piece of lore as to who the Immortals are, where they come from, why they are here, and all the stuff you've been asking silently while playing through this game. A quick rundown. The world that the Immortals are from was growing unstable due to the influence of this world, being in the same place in time and space, but otherwise displaced dimensionally. The Immortals found out that the influence of the emotions of the world dwellers is the cause of this instability, which also influenced them. 1,000 years was chosen because that length of time happens to coincide with a single year in the Immortals' worlds, hence why they seem to never age. They are unkillable because they are merely a consciousness that was brought to this world via quantum nonsense, and given form probably from the magic energy that was latent to the world, though that's merely speculation on my part, not the game's. When you're done with that, we've got plot to cover, so let's get rolling. Ming reveals that she remembers how Gungora really got his start. 30 years ago, they were called to the Tower of Mirrors to return home, but Gungora said he was going to stay there, because he decided he wants to be a god. It also explains the sudden appearance of magic energy, sort of. See, it turns out that the world the Immortals come from is full of it, and it's bleeding into the world of the humans, and it has been slowly building up over the past 1,000 years. It turns out that as long as the mirrors are open, magic energy will continue to grow in power, but Gungora will keep getting called back, so his goal became to build Grand Staff to try and artificially inflate the regular world's magic energy, such that he could destroy the mirrors and rule the world as an immortal god. After that encounter in the mirrors, he began stealing their memories by weakening their resolve at a critical moment, which I assume weakens the barriers of their mind to be able for him to reach out and lock their memories away. Aside from Ming, who did it to herself. So it's decided, the group needs to stop Gungora once and for all! But the Nautilus needs repairs before they can truly go on their search. That flying feature got busted after their escape from Ura, so it's decided to head for an inland area via submarining to it and repair it there, as well as get supplies. This pit stop will bring us to the land of the Eastern Tribe.
It's been a long time.
So this place is a shithole with more monkeys that like to steal your shit. I hate this place. I would complain more if that was the worst thing about this map. Pro tip, equip anti-poison, otherwise your life is a nightmare. Now, inside, the game forces you to split the party, but thankfully it's just a couple of short little puzzle sections, though you are actually in two parties that can encounter enemies separately, so have fun with that! After doing that, you find the stone you're looking for, so of course Jansen sets off a trap, and you have to fight this big bastard. So this guy has a neat little trick. He has two keystones, and these keystones serve as counter walls. The first keystone deals with physicals, and the second deals with magic. They're also in the front row, and the boss is in the back row. However, if you kill both, you find out the hard way that they also serve as magic limiters on the boss, and he'll start nuking you with horrendous spirit magic. My run through, I got lucky, but he can cast Lost, which will just insta-kill a party member. Also, Bind Hit will hit you with formation paralysis, so pull out Freeform again, and then the Keystones can just randomize your formation into wherever the hell it feels like. But if you kill him, you get the stone as your reward, and are booted back to the world map with no explanation as to what the hell just happened. This is the stone that will allow us to get past them hypercurrents, those white no-go zones on the world map, unlocking the rest of the map. And if you thought you had a nightmare before, you ain't seen nothing yet. Save your game and approach the port of Numara only when ready. Why? Remember those Arthrosaurus I mentioned in Ming's flashback? Yeah, guess what happens?
But wait! There's more!
So maybe you decided you want to grind a bit, get some levels in preparation for what's about to happen. Did you decide to go back to the mansion where you found Sarah? I hope not, because if you did, you get to experience a new status effect.
Darkness.
See, when it's not busy insta-killing your party members or absorbing your attacks depending on which side is facing you, it'll hit you with darkness. It's like Curse, but with a random chance of fading away, meaning it can cause multiple status effects before it's gone. This is just as fun as it sounds. Assuming you manage to beat it, you do get a bitchin' charm that absorbs fire damage, and that's a skill you can teach your immortals. But Jesus, this fight! Also, unless you hate yourself, pretty much the only place worth your time to grind is Numara Atoll, which if you haven't unlocked it yet, you're kinda screwed now. But you can either find a Hell Shaker, which isn't even worth your time, and Silver Kellolons, which like to run as soon as they can, awarding you nothing. They're easily killable when the game lets you. It sucks! You know what? I have to do this, because this really gets on my goddamn nerves. Who keeps designing these enemies? They've always got absurd defensive abilities, they always run from the fight, and they always have ridiculous rewards. What is the point of these enemies? Legend of Dragoon, Pokemon, Final Fantasy, they're friggin' everywhere, and all they do is waste the player's time. How is this fun? What makes you think I want to rely on RNG to maybe beat an enemy when the game feels like it? These enemies always piss me off because there's no point in trying to fight them because they'll either negate all the damage or run before you get a chance to act. Is this a joke? How is this funny? Whoever designed these goddamn monsters first deserves to burn in hell, making sure that their punishment is always having their tormentors run away from them the moment they look at them. This shit needs to fuck. Okay, I bitch, but it turns out with the use of casting support from Kime or Seth, Gamble can be casted fast enough to actually hit the bastards and potentially kill them. Anyway, back to the story. When you get to Numara, you get a boss fight. Time this fight. No, seriously, time it, and beat it as fast as you can. Do not hold back, use every resource, you need to beat the ever-loving shit out of this thing. Your goal is under 3 minutes. No, that's not a joke. He doesn't have a lot of health, and you have casters and rings to nuke it with. MDK the bastard. Got the time? Good. I hope it was quick, because now you're on the clock. See, 4 more of the big shit spawn, and race for the city. First one to make it nets you a game over, and it will actually happen. You've got about 9 minutes to beat 3 of them, so that you can freeze the 4th one by combat, and the clock continues to tick in combat. Oh, and there are also schools of fish swimming around with goodies, and they disappear when the sequence is over. If you want any chance of getting those goodies, you're gonna need to abuse a mechanic of this fight. See, the Arthrosaurus is not immune to sleep, and you can run from the fight at any time. So sleep it, turn tail, and now the monster is frozen in place for about 5 minutes. And that's where the time comes in. If you managed under 3 minutes for the fight, you should be able to pull a W no matter how much time you spend dicking around. If you're at 4, You can manage it if you don't spend too much time searching. If you're over 5, restart your last save before the sequence and figure out why you're so goddamn slow. If you are able to succeed, you re-unlock Numara, only to find that Kakanis has seized his moment while you've been away. While he welcomes you with a smile, he brings tanks outside to destroy the palace while you rest, only to blow a gasket when he finds the party isn't inside. This fight is stupid easy. See, the Vol cannons always deal fire damage, so you can just equip that absorb fire skill on your party and laugh as he heals you. If you have any machine killer rings, you can just shred the bastard to tiny pieces, and it's finally time for me to bring up that other elephant in the room I've been ignoring. See, if you buy DLC for the game, you can snap the game's balance like a twig. There is a DLC ring, freely buyable to anyone, and it has 3 killer add-ons at level 3+, which means they come with the wider goods zone I talked about. This absolutely ruins the game's balance in the early stages, because if you run into any nasties that apply to its killer add-ons, you just utterly destroy them. I do own it, but I have not used it until this exact fight, for the exact reason that I didn't want to break the game's balance. I wanted to push through this game as if I were a standard player. But here they prove their worth by utterly wrecking Kakanis' tanks, only for him to basically disappear from the plot, never to be seen again. I would assume that he was placed under arrest for treason or something like that, but whatever happens to him happens off screen. At this point, the crew decides that to be able to progress any further, they'll use the White Boa to break through any ice sheets in the north. Well, when her hitbox isn't being janky, that is. Also, you get 1,000 years of dreams from Ming's perspective. If you've been snagging those 1,000 years of dreams, this is the last one you should have obtained, meaning you'll get a nice achievement for it. Yay! Speaking of Ming, Jansen finally gets his moment with her, and the two share how much they care for each other. Well, looks like the flirting paid off for the man. So anyway, now we gotta search for Grandstaff. The group intuits that Grandstaff is probably using the hypercurrents to charge its power, meaning they need to head off to the Sea of Baus. The problem is the bridge is destroyed, so you can't just walk there anymore. If you go there via White Boa, while the game says it's a point of no return, you'll be fine after you beat the boss, which are those acolytes we saw way back in Disc 3. You know, I complained about them before, but it's actually a really easy fight, because if you've gotten all the royal seals, then you should have nullify all elements, which ruins most of the acolytes' avenues of attack. If you have the angel charm you pick up in another side area, then the fight is completely broken open. If you don't have those, however, you are in for a nightmare of a fight, having to constantly cure all stone and blind from shyness, and they have really strong defenses considering their low health pool, and it's just a headache. During the fight, Grandstaff flies away, carving through the mountains toward an inland lake with the Nautilus in hot pursuit. Again, game says point of no return, but you'll be fine once you fight the boss. Well, I say fight, but we'll get there. First, before you can make it to the control room, you have to deactivate the power, and this is a really easy fight to game over on. See, you have to fight 2 monsters at the same time, with a party of 2 on each side. If you don't kill both of the same turn, you game over. The problem is these things only have 4k health, so you can't bash your way through the fight, and you also have to work fast because the conduit inside the arena will heal its respective monster, and you're only allowed to control one or the other. Any mistake can legitimately force a game over, so you have a delicate balance ahead of you. Which cannot be said about the Magic Beast boss, because that one's just sad. All of his attacks count as elemental damage, and, well, nullify all elements shuts him right up. You make it to Gongora, and in a passionate speech on both sides,
"You say you find feelings incredible. How can you possibly attempt to control them?"
It is because they are incredible that I covet their power. And I have come to know this desire through this world. As long as people live, I shall acquire unlimited power. And this body shall truly be immortal.
Understand nothing! Overwhelming power will annihilate the people here. It's proven by the history that you so covet. In our 1,000 years here, haven't we seen countless nations rise and fall?
Gongora puts his final grip on Jansen's contract, taking control of him and forcing the party to fight him. If you do fight him, you game over, so just guard and wait for the story to take over. Gongora unleashes a meteor strike on you, and then dumps Jansen immediately after, before Grandstaff whacks right into the Tower of Mirrors. This whacking gives the final charge he needs to be able to finish his goal, and he portals into the tower, leaving Grandstaff to collapse with you inside. And this time, you have 8 minutes to escape instead of 12, with the timer still ticking during fights. Yeah, nope, see ya! We make it out in the nick of time, and it's time for the final battle with Gongora! Which brings me to the point of no return with a vengeance. Woe betide all those who enter without preparation. Yeah, if there's any side quests or items you really want, now's the time. One of those side quests is the Temple of Enlightenment, and Jesus Christ, I don't even want to think about doing this place without a walkthrough. It's a gigantic maze where you constantly shift the landscape in 3 dimensions to be able to get everything, and don't even get me started on the boss who you have to fight with no buffs because he immediately counters it for free as an immediate response to anything being casted, and it's just... screw this place! So this is it. The end game.
They're here.
Gongora reveals 2 things about this place. By time flowing here like their own world, it means that the regular humans are burned by the magic energy flowing through here, and the immortals are truly able to die here. So for warm-up, he summons a new magic beastie. I mean, he absorbs your magic and everything. It'd be a shame if I was immune to basically everything he could throw at me. Doesn't explain why Set is a part of this fight, though. After making a mockery of him, Gongora unleashes his magic energy, transforming him into a monstrosity, able to use the light of the mirrors to amplify his power. But the mortals push a barrier of darkness in front of the mirrors, blocking the light enough to allow the party to defeat Gongora. This is why I said to teach the immortals all the things in part 1. See, you have to fight him using only your immortals, so if they don't have a nice skill set, you're just screwed. And this is a really tough fight. Even if he didn't auto-counter any buffs you use, he has a skill called Manipulate, which makes your party fight itself. The only problem is this counts as a status ailment, and I have the ability to nullify any ailment, so ha!
Jansen, that's enough! Drop the barrier!
I'm trying, but something's not... I'm not sure what's wrong.
It won't go away!
What's going on? Check it out!
It's magic energy. The magic energy that formed the barrier. It's causing the power to increase. It's eating through!
This is bad! Time is moving faster!
What do we do?
So, with their loved ones trapped, Gongora reveals the only way to save them. Complete his ultimate goal and destroy the mirrors! But Seth has other plans for him. With the mirrors fading away, Seth forces herself and Gongora through the portal, back to their world, leaving behind everyone else. And worse yet, the Nautilus is stuck in the water, with the tower beginning to collapse.
Whoa. What's that?
What's happening?
Whoa! What? Don't let go? What are you, nuts?
It's loosened up.
Right! Good move!
I don't feel the rudder.
It's Seth. Yes. Yes, it is.
Mama? She's here now?
It's so warm.
Seth, what a woman.
Mama. Just when I had finally found you.
Sarah? Seth isn't dead, is she?
No. She went home to her own world.
Is that not the same as death for an immortal?
In a sense, yes. Seth. Until we meet again.
And so the story ends with an epilogue. Kime, Sarah, Cook, and Max settle down on a farm. Tolton and Ming return to their royal duties. Ansett is still a pirate, but takes time out of his busy schedule to make it to Ming and Jansen's wedding. And in the end, Kime and Sarah decide that, as long as they have each other,
Eternity's not so bad.
And so, at the end of all this, it's not enough to just say that Lost Odyssey is a good game. Really, it's a masterclass in how to write a character-driven story, or as I call them, character drama. More than being a story, its true accomplishment is seen in how well it treats and develops its cast. If any character was missing from this story, it would be incomplete. Even Ced, as late as he's introduced in the game, feels like a necessary addition to the story, if only for Seth's development as a character. The plot itself is honestly a throwaway affair. Bad guy wants to take over the world, and you have to stop him. It's the characters that take what is otherwise a dead simple story and breathe new life into it, much like Dark Chronicle did with its cast, or what Final Fantasy XIII tried to do with its cast. I once played this game way back in high school, but coming back to it for this rant made me recognize all the more how good this game actually is. It's a shame that it's been all but forgotten, not helped by being overshadowed by Blue Dragon's release the year before this game came out. Well, that and the fact that it was a 360 exclusive. See, it was published by Microsoft in a failed bid to make the 360 more appealing in Japan, and while it may have failed in that metric, what we got in the end stands on its own and deserves to be in our memories. After all, the games you remember
are with you forever.
Alright, I need a break from Japan. Let's hop across the Pacific this time. About the same time as Lost Odyssey dropped, another studio was blowing the hell up after a landmark release. Let's see what they came up with after that. This is Maniac Kid 25, signing out. No, in fact, he's with Kym and Sarah! Did my voice really just crack there? Oh my god.